Ryan.
No, oh.
Yeah, all right.
Ryan,
Live from Long Island, New York. This That's right. We're live. Love, death, and taxes. Agnes, we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about this one and be very careful because this, for me, is an ongoing situation. For you, technically, an ongoing situation. You might have levels here, right?
let's.
Today,
Uh,
ladies and gents, we're going to be talking about blended bonds, navigating both dating and marriage with
yes.
children in the mix, right? How about
Uh,
that? Very cool, very cool. I think it's an interesting content, and it's probably touching a lot of people because with a 50% divorce rate across America, there are definitely kids in the mix. Everybody's dealing with this. So let's get into it. Hello. Okay. Hi, Agnes. What's going on? What's going on this week? You know what's going on because Valentine's Day is coming up. Uh, Today is P.S. I Love You Day. It's the Super Bowl on Sunday. So I wasn't surprised that you wanted to go for a love episode this week. I'm very, and this one is kind of, touching me, touching you. Now I'm sound like Barry Manilow. Go ahead.
no, I have quite a lot of experience when it comes to that because there's not only me, but my sister, my niece, my nephew, and there's so many people. This is like so common nowadays. I mean, really, so common nowadays. And years ago, there was more stigmatic that, ooh, someone's got a child. It's like, I have to tell you, I have an aunt who's going to be 92 this year. And she's still in Europe, and I'm here. And she was, a couple years ago, she was whispering to me that her granddaughter met a guy who's got a child. I said, why are you whispering that fact? It's like,
Exactly.
it's okay. It's, we love children, they're a blessing. And then you just have to navigate certain way, which is not easy. I must say it's not easy from my own experience. It's not easy. But it's like, she's still from the era where there was a stigma because someone has a child, just like being divorced and entering another marriage was, oh my gosh, so such a gossip, such a big thing. That, but now it's like, been there, done that, and move on.
It's very common. Yeah, if you think of the ultimate stepmother stepfather story, I think about Cinderella or or a Snow White, right? And how it's always an evil stepmother.
Yes,
And
evil stepmother, either evil stepfather, but I would say they are myth of a past. I
yeah,
would say
yeah,
myth of a past
okay.
because this is so normal now. I I think I know more people that who are in that kind of relationship that there are children involved than single people. You know, Ryan, you still have a lot to learn when it comes to this subject. There's still ahead of you a lot. I mean, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there are tons of us. And not only are we doing it, this is 20 years on now. A lot of my friends did it. What's interesting is a lot of my guy friends, we had stuck to careers for quite some time. And then we married women who had one, two, sometimes even three children prior to, and we were not, and we did not have children. You know what I mean? It wasn't. It wasn't
Hmm.
like so it's an unusual thing because normally you hear that a lot that guys, it's guys who bring the children into whatever relationship, but no, it's actually in our particular case, it's a lot more of so I mean, you've got two stages here. You've got dating, right? And you've got actually blending the two families. It could be two, it could be three, it could be four families, depending on how many
Yeah,
kids are
absolutely.
involved, right? Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're looking at two situations. So let's start at the beginning. Dating. Like when do you tell someone I've got kids, or she when should she or he tell you they got kids? You think that should be first date conversation?
I think that, on the wedding day saying, "Oh, by the way, the flower girl is my daughter."
Yeah,
Surprise! That was a gift for the wedding. Uh, no, yes, first date from very, very beginning. I think even depending how you dating, how you meeting. Now, it's very popular to meet online on so I think that should be on a profile, so there will be
yeah,
no surprises. Being a parent is not for everybody. Being a parent to one child is one thing. Being a parent to larger group of children, it's completely another issue. So,
yes.
I, God knows, I know, I know that. So, oh my God, remind me to tell you one story. I have. No, I have to share this with you right now because otherwise I'll forget.
I was just
When
gonna
it
say,
comes
how
to,
dare you take you to put it off? You
when
better
it
do
comes
the show.
yeah, when it comes to dating, it, and someone with children, years ago I was on a date where I come to meet that particular gentleman, and we're having nice conversation and funny. He goes, "Listen, I need to tell you something." I said, "Yes." He goes, "You see that table, that lady with three children? Yes, that's my ex-wife and my children. They came to see if they will accept me." I was like, "That's first of all first date, which was a blind date." And it was like, okay, bye.
Yeah, like the first step, like they're watching you from over there.
Yeah,
That's
they
not
did.
cool.
They did. That was very creepy. And then they all waved to me like, yeah, we're not doing that. I ran very
I mean, does that say to you? Does that say to you that he's cool with it? Because at a certain point, once you've parted ways with your partner, you do get kind of like, okay, she's almost like an aunt, or who helps me take care of my kids. Like when you get into the true co-parenting stage and you're not at conflict with one another, because sometimes conflict still exists, right? I mean, do you think he got to that point because that's how comfortable he felt that she could come and literally come and see who was dating with him? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
he did. He did. But the person that he was dating at that point, it was me.
Of course.
I was just informed at the table he's father of three, and then oh boom, there's his ex-wife. Like, mm, much too early, much too early. I'm sorry, but that was not the timing was off. Completely timing was off.
Right. And
Uh,
now you're thinking, hey, am I gonna make it out of this restaurant alive? You know, this is not.
Are they gonna run behind me? Mommy, mommy, don't go, or whatever.
And we're laughing, but you think about this. There are some cultures where you're becoming the second wife or third wife or fourth wife, right? Oh, I know
Yeah,
it's not
go to Utah. No problem. I read the book, The 19th Wife. Nope, thank you.
right. Or on the other side of the country of the world where you might have that in certain Muslim marriages as well. But the idea that we're all a blended family or going to become a blended family. I don't know. You should divulge it on the first date. I don't want to fall in love with you and be like, wow,
Yeah.
this woman is great. She's the perfect one for me. And 6 months down the line, now you're telling me, oh, yeah, yeah, by the way, I've got,
Yes.
5 kids at home. And it's
Well,
five different people and five different fathers, and now I've got a problem. And I'm not. It's so funny. Like I was going to say the
that's
Seinfeld thing.
another issue.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but in a way, that says something to you. Like if this is a person who has been with five separate people. It's one thing if they were married for 20 years with the one person and had 2 or 3 kids with that one person. But if you now find out they've got, uh, uh, I'm looking for the word, batches of kids with different people, now you're like,
Well,
is this the person I want to get involved with?
then you're looking at different two issues actually,
Mm,
because this is, I would say, again, this is not a cookie cutter situation, but
exactly.
from my experience, women like that, they looking at bringing kids as, I love you so much that I'm going to give you everything, I'm going to have a child with you as a proof of my love to you. It's not
Mm,
a puppy, it's not a plant, you cannot take it back, you cannot, put in a shelter. This is lifetime commitment. And a second issue is, if you have four, five, six fathers, that's 4, 5, 6 people that you have to make it nice during the lifetime to get along,
yes.
not to have conflict.
Yeah.
But um, dating someone with children is much easier than marrying into the relationship like that, to have children um, in a marriage blended family, married into family like that, because dating, you are exposed to any issues, it's sporadical situation. You might have to cancel a date because the child is sick, you might have to cancel a date because the babysitter didn't show up. That's the beginning of it. If you want that mother to like you, you buy gifts for children, you getting into that mother's heart in your situation, like you're a male, so you're getting into it to show, you know I care, I love, and things like that. So it's easier because you are exposed sporadically. Even if you finally come home and you're spending evening together playing games, you are on your best behavior because you want to show the best side of you as a loving potential stepfather, but you don't dare to start imposing on someone. You're not there to start setting rules. You're just sitting and observing.
Yeah.
That's completely different that when you're in a marriage and then responsibility starts, then you really have to step in and help when a child is sick. You have to step in when child has problems at school or there are homework to be done. We're talking every single everyday things that you have to be involved in.
There are issues. And then if your significant other who you have parted from is still in the children's life, how do you deal with now this other person coming in and being, yes, step boyfriend, I guess, or step girlfriend, but then not having, yeah, you're right. There should not be any imposition at that point, but there's going to be feelings there, especially once children are involved, because clearly the children are the product of a closer relationship than actually. It's one thing you break up with someone, you never really had anything with them, fine, whatever. But you've got this bond now. You have these children between you, these people who are part you and part them, and now you're saying, this is my kid. I want to father this kid, even if or be the dad to this kid. And now here's another third person, fourth person, or whatever person coming in saying that they also want to be in it. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to juggle there.
Yeah.
How do you, when do you introduce the children to this person? Because you're saying, one, first of all, you should tell them on the first date. That's what you're saying. But then, how long do you take before you introduce the children to this person? Because you could meet them on the first date and tell them, but that person could be crazy. I mean, what are that? You dating them for 3 months and you find out, no, no, no. And now they know my kids. They know where my kids go to school. They're friends with my kids. They're friends with my mom because my mom met the kids and picked him up. And so the whole thing, like you've gotten them intricate, into your relationship. And now, what do you do? I mean, how do you handle that? So, how long do you wait before you introduce the kids to this person?
Well, until you feel secure about the relationship, because again, kids are going through trauma. You want it or not, you want to believe it or not, there will be something they will feel during the divorce or
Yeah.
separation or anything like that. Some kids will adopt very quickly. Some of them they won't, depending of what child the psyche of a child.
Yes.
But you cannot, as being responsible person, you cannot just introduce someone. Okay, this is mommy's or daddy's boyfriend or a friend. And kids are not stupid. They will, and you don't want them to develop an attachment and then have the little hearts broken again when you decide not to see that person again. So yes, finding out if the person that you're dating is a psycho or not will be helpful. uh, to finding out how they are dealing with, there's some, the step number one is, yes, finding out secure if this relationship has any future or not, if the person knows about the children exist. That's another very helpful thing.
Right.
and
Right.
now and now you have to introduce them at certain point to see how that person actually reacts to your children. I i had girlfriends that they were afraid that, well, maybe that person's gonna start smacking them around, or putting too much rules. I mean, there are different situations.
Right.
And there was situation when, after that poor girl, she introduced the boyfriend to her daughter. She had two daughters, and the guy's like, okay, okay, so now I'm Chris, and from now on, there's gonna be this, and that. Is like, they're here at the door. Like, he felt so secure in a relationship with their mother. I don't know, a rule there, or I
I'm
mean,
gonna
like,
be dad. Yeah, I'm gonna
yeah,
start making rules.
yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No,
And
no.
even when you are in a relationship, you have to be very, very careful, because you may even not only hear from kids, "You're not my dad." There's
Yes.
a lot of times that happens.
I was just gonna say vice versa. A woman should not be saying to your kids, or man saying to your kid, "This is your mom," or "This is your dad now. This is the person." Like this, especially if that other person somewhere exists somewhere, you don't want to force the kid and say, "This is now your dad. This is now your mom." That can also be an issue. You are giving me the willies here, because I remember certain things happening in the beginning of my relationship, because I came into the relationship with no children, and when we got married, she had one, and I knew it right away, because when I met her, she was actually at the child was there, so I knew the whole right away. But yeah, it was eventually like, okay, let's talk to one another, let's find out what we like, whatever. I mean, I'm really good with kids, children, come hang out with me. So that's actually what happened that night. Like that kid just come and hung out with me, and I was like, oh, okay. So it was such an interesting thing. So that happened. And then I met the mother. I was like, oh, okay. So it was such an interesting thing. So that happens. And I want to say to you that if there are pre-arranged co-parenting agreements, you kind of have to respect that as well. So when
Oh
my
yeah.
wife and I did separate, um, our one of the rules that we had was, let's make sure that whoever we are dating, if we are dating someone, that person um, is someone who you feel like you were saying, is someone who you continue to be in a relationship going forward. And if that is the case and you feel like that relationship is great, then at that point you introduce them to the children. And not only did we introduce them to the children, we also introduced them to the previous significant other, and we did that all at once. And so the children were in the room. I was in the room when she was, dating her new person. And I was like, all right, fine. Now we know one another. We shake hands, blah, blah, blah. And then we get out of the room and do what which is a very, very mature way to do it. But I got to tell you, I, I have never heard of that or seen that in normal life. Normally it happens much, much differently, right? Have you ever heard of that before? Have you
Oh,
know?
I know a couple
Mhm,
that there's a child from prior relationship, and the couple shares a child together, and
mhm.
actually they are meeting with a father of that child and his girlfriend, and they're going out to dinner sometimes, the four of them.
Okay, so
That,
this is a complete blended family. Interesting.
yes. So I'm like, myself, I was like, huh, really? And you're getting along? And yes, and everyone is happy. Beginnings, it didn't start this way, but as time progresses, everyone got more comfortable with they fall into relationship in a comfortable place, and everyone knows what's going on, who is who, what they're doing, and all that. So everything is working beautifully, which is, it's better for children. That this way is much better
Yes,
for children. uh
that everybody do. Yeah,
a person who is coming into blended family and the parents exist, like two parents, it's the co-parent, right? um
right.
it's the stepfather stepmother title, but you cannot exactly start bossing around either, because you're that third person coming in, so you're more becoming this an adult friend, who is there to help when help is needed. So there are rules, and there are roles that have to be observed, to not to start, you know im- interfering with what's existing, because you're just
I
going to start creating more problems.
I would think it's almost like an aunt or uncle role. That's probably how you want to set yourself up. You do want to defer almost always to the actual parents, but it's like you're an additional arm there and you can help out if it's okay with them. But you can't impose on those kids, at least not until something else happens, something gets solidified in some sort of way. But yeah, in the beginning, that's not necessarily where you want to be. So yeah, that's a very interesting. So challenges that would definitely come up is, suppose your ex really doesn't get along with that person, or suppose your ex is kind of one of those volatile persons or something that you is going to be difficult, because I've seen that too. Like, we're talking about the great relationships, but sometimes you have feelings. There's feelings in there. I've seen people, I've heard of, actually, people dropping kids, right? Dropping kids to get in a fight with the other woman, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What do you do when they have those kind of challenges?
Oh, a lot of relationships breaks apart when there are situations like that. When there is still a lot of emotions or bad energy. There are different ways of there are different reasons for the prior relationship to break apart. If there was any cheating involved, then forget it, because the first wife is not going to say, "Oh, okay, yes, call her mommy as well, no problem, she'll be there to help." That's not going to happen. So there's going to be a lot of fighting, a lot of jealousy, a lot of anger involved, and that's hurting your children. um I would not fight for a guy who will leave me for somebody else because like he would be not worth it any attention from me, or even 1 minute of the go ahead. Like I said, I'll put a red ribbon around someone like that and send him to the next one. But yes, it's very difficult. So it's sitting down and discussing things sometimes works, a lot of times it doesn't in situations like that. But with time things will settle down with time. So if you really love someone, you have to be patient and just sit back and wait for things to settle down. And depending how long, and depending the person, the couple was apart, depending for what reason, everything influenced situations like that. I mean, everything. Oh, how many times we saw even in the movies or some articles, like two dads walking a bride down the aisle, a father and a stepfather. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
It's a beautiful thing to see in movies, but I don't know how often it happens, and how often it doesn't end in like a fist fight at the at the church or at the hall afterwards. So you know what I mean? We see things that we see on TV, and they like to sell us these wonderful ideas, And a lot, by the way, a lot of the ideas that we received about co-parenting, we received from not movies and so, but from a therapist. Like the therapist was like, you have to make this division. This is where you're doing this and you're doing that, and it ended up working. Like there are just little, and I mean little things, just tiny little things, like one person should be dropping off the kids and the other person should be picking up, like at different times. It's like little things, and you're like, I would never have thought of that. But co-parenting rules are actually very important. And then, if everybody's going according to plan, if everybody's respecting those plans, it works out great. The minute someone decides they're going to just do something different because, oh, well, I couldn't do it at that point, now you're in trouble because you're not respecting the plan. Why should I respect the plan? And then you've got all these problems, right? And, the third person coming in may not have any idea what these situations are, So it's very, very interesting. And very, addressing the navigating the ex-partner relationship is a big, big part of this. But then, okay, let's talk about the kids. Suppose the kids hate you. As simple as that. They just don't like you for whatever reason. You're too old, or you talk too much, or you don't play video games like my dad does, or you're not my dad. All those different things. Now, how do you deal? I'm coming in a relationship. I don't have kids, or I might even have kids. And maybe that was even a point of contention too. Oh, I hate your kids. My kids hate your kids. No Brady Bunch situation. What do you do when there is, conflict?
Well, you know what? If couple love
Mhm.
each other, really, and I mean, there's a real feeling, they have to remember one thing, that those children will leave the house sooner rather than later.
So you're saying wait them out?
Wait about. That's it. No, like really, just imagine. My mother did this. I'm not going to remarry because someone's going to be bad to my kids. The kids left. They got married. She stayed alone. And then
Yeah.
she thought, I should have I should have been with someone because now I wouldn't be alone. A lot of times, even in a marriage, people fight about children. What are you doing? You shouldn't say this to her, or him. You should not do this, you should not do that. And guess what? Children will leave and they staying alone, and they have nothing to fight about. And they find each other, you know what, actually I like you, I like doing things with you. It's there's that part in a relationship is lost so many times that really hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you cannot let children rule your life when you are in situations like this. If you really love that person, you have to find a way. Either you step back and let the parents deal with them, and you just there for the person that you came into relationship for, that boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, wife, second wife, or whatever, and you just there supporting her or him through the turbulations. Because with children, a lot of times it's like with puppies. They will try something for 3, 4 months. If it doesn't work, they'll give up, find something else to try. But that's the way the behavior goes. You know, at the very beginning, they might be, there are kids that, okay, I'm waiting for my mommy and daddy to come back together, and they will do everything and anything to scare the other person coming in. There are situations like that.
Yeah.
uh there are situations where they will prefer the other person than their own parent. It's really up to the psyche of the child, and depending how, if the parents left on a good terms or fighting, and maybe that child took one side, of one of the parents or not. It's really, as many couples you're gonna have 100 couples in 100 different situations.
Yep.
But how
Yep. And
to
I'm
survive
this
this?
too. Mhm.
But how to survive this? Step back and let the parent deal that, let the parent make the decision. And there are situations when there is a single mother and another man comes in and she's got a son. The son feels like he's the protector. He's right now in charge of the family. Well, it's up to the mother to set him in a certain place. Say, listen, I love you, but you are not in charge of me. You know,
Right.
there, there are ways. I'm not saying, with love, everything with love. You can sit down with kids and ask, you know what, give that person a chance, give them a chance to get to know them first, and then we sit down and talk. Let's have the
Right.
trial time. There are different situations, there are different way of communicating with kids to find
Right.
a common ground. But for a person who is coming in to relationship, to situation with children, step back. Don't try to act up like you are the parent there, because you are not established in this child's life yet. No
Yeah.
matter
As
if this is welcome
we was saying,
or,
know your role. Know your role. Watch your
yes, know
place.
your place.
Everybody calm down. What about money? Let's talk about money, right? I get into a relationship. Well, yeah, let's talk about money, and then you know what I want to talk about? Talk about adult kids too, because you're sounding like you're talking about a kid who's like younger, but adult kids can have a whole other way of dealing with you when you're blending, right? Um, but yeah, let's talk about money. Money. I come into the relationship. I might have a little bit of money. I might not. Depends. And now I'm with this person. How much of that is expected to be spent on this kid? How much should I spend on that kid? What about my kid? What if I have kids also whose money, I'm trying to, who I'm also trying to spend money on? What do we do with those situations? I saw something on Instagram the other day. Oh my gosh, I'm referencing Instagram. Whoa. But I saw something on Instagram the other day where uh, there was a man and he got some sort of he got money from an aunt or an uncle, and he wanted to spend it on her kid and his kid, and they had decided that, and apparently the kids had grown up. He has the money, and she was upset that he was going to spend it on his kid from a previous relationship. Yeah, she was upset. I think it was because it's not his biological child, but it was his child from his previous marriage. So apparent for whatever reason, he was the one who had custody and he was the one who brought that child into their relationship. She's upset that he's gonna spend money on that kid to go to college. What do you think about like that money is such a volatile thing in regular relationships, much less in blended families, right? What do you think about that particular situation first, and then you tell me, give me a general rule.
When comes to being a father, it's not the one who conceived, it's the one who raised. That's the father that is considered to be a father, because being just present during conception doesn't make you a father. That's the way I see it.
Right.
So that's number one. So in this situation, that's his child, so he can do whatever. If he's got a good relationship with his child, he wants to do this. It's none of her. She cannot influence that. She cannot
Right.
influence that.
Yeah.
But just just to deal with this, it's difficult when you're walking in into situations like that. Okay, there's a child. If there's just one child and there's no father involved, uh, you have to consider those expenses. I'm sorry, but you do have to consider that.
Of course.
If there is another parent supporting it, supporting the child or children, that's another thing. Contribute to the household when it comes to household expenses, which is the rent or the mortgage or groceries to certain extent at this point. Half of the light bill and whatever. You have to consider, or of course it's between the couple what's the arrangements they want to have, but
Right.
that's a fair thing to do. And even if you have your own children to support or pay child support and everything, you have to sit down with a pen and paper and actually figure that out. This is not something, okay, there's $500 by. It
Right.
has to be an arrangement, and the expectations, but all that has to be done prior to moving in together.
Right.
Because there's
Right.
one thing
Not
just gifts, another thing living together and sharing expenses, living under the same roof. You know,
right.
uh, to me, that makes sense. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah. There's a lot. There's gift giving. There's birthdays. There's even Valentine's could be like a powder keg, depending on how much money you do or do not have, or
Mhm.
you're in the relationship, and they're like, okay, great, it's great he's here, mom, but how come he's not giving us money? Or great that he's that she's with you, dad, but how much of your money are you giving to her? You know what I mean? So I understand. I definitely understand that that can be tough. Again, it's all about being patient and having flexibility, because these are not easy situations. You don't want to have them not be worked out before you guys lock everything in, and then stick to the rules, right? If you're changing up the rules in the middle of the thing, now we've got a problem. Yeah.
That doesn't work. But you know what? I remember one of the couples that officiated their wedding. They were in their 60s, late 60s, and we had this beautiful ceremony at sunrise, and they got married, just the two of them. And they told me it has to be in secret. And the names were, it has to be in secret because their families didn't know, specifically their children.
And they
They
were
had
in their
so
60s.
late 60s.
So
And they
these are older children.
we're talking very grown up children, very grown up children.
Yeah.
And they both had children, both of them. And they were afraid to tell their children that they got married because the children weren't exactly accepting from both sides. the couple decided to get married because of their age. They figure we don't have a lot of time to sit and think about it. If we make each other happy, we're not going
Right.
to sit and wait for 5 years for their blessing because
Right.
we might not be around in 5 years.
Right.
So I have to tell you, like, I don't want to give too much away, but he prepared such a fantastic romantic ceremony. I almost wept myself. It was a beautiful thing. I got family member and a friend to be there witnesses because no one from the family know about it.
Wow.
Year
I
later,
My head is spinning because I want to ask you so many details right now because I want to understand why. Uh, was it financial? Were they two different religions? Were they
religion.
from?
They just didn't like from her kids didn't like him, and
Yeah.
his children didn't like her.
Why?
They didn't ask the details exactly why, but that was the situation. Listen to this. A year later, not close to a year, I'm getting a phone call. Can I officiate their wedding? Because now they got a blessing from their children and they're going to have a big wedding. And can we do this? So they were asking, do they have to get a divorce to get married again or whatever? So very nicely, we pretended that this is the very first time,
Right.
and we did exactly on the same day. So this way they have the same wedding anniversary. It's just that to somebody will be, oh, this is our third or fourth, and they will know that this is their fifth.
They're
That's,
gonna make
that's a little romantic secret.
that is very romantic, but at the same time, children, you should know your place. These people are 60 something years old. You don't get to
Yeah.
tell them who they can or cannot date. I mean, unless it's crazy, unless it looks crazy. Like you're looking and you're like, who are you getting married to, mom? And why? That I get it. But, to some, and everybody wants to protect their parents, especially if they feel like, oh, they've gotten to a certain age and whatever. But, that's the thing. I learned this about 6, 7 years ago. You think you have time, but you don't. So enjoy exactly what you can in life as you have it. Wow, this has been a good one, Agnes. I like this. We had a great chit chat about this whole thing. You have oh, I wanted to talk about this last thing before we go.
Hmm.
Future planning and goal setting. You should definitely do that in any relationship that you're in. But I feel as though when you have kids involved, your future planning and goal setting should not only involve the two of you and the kids that are going to be, but of course those children from those exes from the previous relationships too, because there are certain things that you just want to do together. I know for a fact that there are relationships that are breaking up right now. I can hear them. Oh my gosh, they're breaking up right now because Valentine's Day is coming and things are not going the way that they wanted them to go. And sometimes it's partially because of the kids or the non planning for the situation with the kids. Like maybe there is someone who is not actually having the conversations that we're talking about right now. What do you think?
Absolutely. There's especially around Valentine's Day, you didn't buy me a gift or something. Or what is this cheap flowers from the gas station? No, jokes aside, relationships are breaking down daily. People are meeting daily. Conversation, when you are in a situation, when you have any kind of children involved, no matter what age, you do have to sit down. I think it gets a little bit easier to when they are grown children, adult children involved, because you can actually sit down and talk. You can say, listen, I love your dad because I love your mom because, and let's try to be friends. Let's try to, okay, you like this, you like that. So, okay, we don't have to be best friends, but at least we have to tolerate each other. And something, something with young children, you don't have opportunities to reach that kind of deep understanding.
Right. But you
So,
want to try to
yeah.
get them involved. Yeah,
So, but then patience, and then you have to develop certain understanding with your partner.
yeah, yeah. I'm not against what your mom said did. I feel like yes, she should have. But once they got to a certain age, like they got to like a teenage age or whatever, that's when you start saying, okay, whatever, whatever. But I have my particular situation has been, it was rough because the children were younger, and some of the children were younger, and so it was, and I had, it's so interesting that you said that before, that depends on the children and depends on, how they deal with you. I had an older stepchild, and that stepchild was right about turning 18 when it happened, and she was not happy.
Yeah.
So, because she had grown up this entire time, the majority of her life, 16 years of her life, were with us as a happy couple together. And
Yeah.
then it just didn't work out the way she thought it wasn't. So she was more hurt. Children, the younger children, actually adapted easier than she did. But it is what it is, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're right. Younger children actually adopt much faster because in younger they are people, there's a misconception that, oh, we're gonna wait until they go to school, until they go to college. They are more tender. They are faced with figuring out who they are themselves. And then you're dropping a divorce or a separation on them. It's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't know who they are themselves, and now they have to accept what their parents become,
Yeah.
what the relationship with their parents, and then what you're going, they have to deal with the step parents. That's a lot for teenager to handle.
Yeah.
Younger
Yeah.
children, okay, we're gonna have two houses, we're gonna have more toys, yay, and and then it's different acceptance. And in earlier, in more, in younger they will adopt to that much faster without less trouble. For teenagers, it's rough. It's really rough.
It is. I can get that. They're going through, a drastic change in who they are themselves. So it's really difficult. I mean, things were said where I was like, whoa, I don't know if we're going to be able to deal with this in the future. So we'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that you have been listening to Love, Death, and Taxes, which is our podcast about the inescapable and inevitable things in life. This is I'm Ryan O'Neill Williams, and my co-host is Agnes Amisano. We are enjoying these last. Can you say? I gotta say the last few, like not even a few. I mean, the last 6 episodes have been great, and you can enjoy them too if you check them out on Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasting. But of course, we're on YouTube. You'll find us on Facebook. And if you want to be part of the conversation, you can send that email to mailbag at lovedeathandtaxes.com. We'll be waiting for you. And it is tax season. So if you are a business owner who is looking for that kind of help, you want to reach out to nytaxresolutions.com. That is where you can find Agnes. By the way, if you also wanted to have your wedding officiated by a wedding officiant, someone who is great at having these kinds of conversations with you right before you get married too, also send your email to mailbag at Taxes, and Agnes will help you out with that. So yeah, NY Tax Resolutions. If you have you need some help with your taxes, and mailbag at Love, Death, and Taxes if you're looking to get some help from a wedding official. I'm Ryan Williams. Uh, Agnes, you want to talk them out? You want to give them a final nugget before we go?
I just wanted to say that I have been enjoying doing this for over a year, not just only last six episodes. But
Oh, yeah, that's right.
and I'll forgive you this time. I'll forgive you this time.
Yeah, this has been real. I'm just saying these last few ones. I was like, oh wow, we're hitting a stride here. And so, ladies and G's, please check them out. If you can't find them on Spotify, there are several. There's like basically almost a year and a half. I think that's where we are now. Yeah, a year and a half of episodes where we're talking about love, death, and taxes, and all the things that happen around those things. So, ladies and G's, I want to say thank you very much for listening to us, and
Till
I'll
next
see you
week.
next week. Yeah, same time, same place. All right, bye bye.
Bye.